Okay, can you all hear me at the back? You can't hear me at the back? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Good. I don't need a mic. Usually I'm told that I'm very loud. I'm not loud enough. We're going to start by saying how many of you were here when I came about 2 months ago and did the first part of this assembly? Hands up. Great. We will go over what we did that day. Hopefully we'll also move on and do quite a lot more learning. This is very daunting, by the way. If you are a sessional worker, if you're a facilitator and you sit in front of a theatre with very bright lighting in the face, quite daunting. So the reason why I say this is because I want you to help me out. This is an interactive session. It's an interactive assembly. In theory, we would be sitting around a circle and sharing our ideas and experiences. I'm not sure it's going to be completely possible, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm also incredibly comfortable with uncomfortable silence. And that means that if everybody goes quiet, I will wait for somebody to put their hands up and say something. That's the premise of this session. Otherwise, very little learning. I want you guys to share your opinions and your thoughts. How many of you have seen Streetwise before? Hands up. Okay. Does anybody know any sessions that they've done with Streetwise, aside from the one about probably the same topic 2 months ago? Any sessions that you may have done with Streetwise? Anybody? No? Okay. We work nationally with Jewish schools and non-Jewish schools and community organizations, enhancing the personal safety and personal development of young Jewish people, also non-Jewish people, by the way, to support their safe physical and emotional well-being. Does anybody understand what that means? No? Okay. We do anything from anti-bullying to internet safety, to sex and relationships education, to addiction, to antisemitism in a variety of schools. And we see, well, last year we saw just over 22,000 young people. That's quite a lot of young people. And today's session is about something very specific. And it's about racism, and more specifically, antisemitism. Again, your collaboration and your ideas are absolutely essential to the session. Can somebody give a definition of racism, please? Yeah. Discrimination based on ethnic background. Is it based on anything else aside from ethnic background? Follow-ups, questions? Okay, what else is racism based on? Yes?
Based on skin colour.
Skin colour, yeah. What else? Yeah.
Religion or country of origin.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else? How about gender? No? Can there be racism about gender? Can you discriminate somebody because they are a man, a woman, or neither a man or a woman? Is that racism or not?
No.
What is it? Is sexism part of racism? I would struggle to argue it. It's probably a very open conversation. That is, these are two very good definitions. These are dictionary definitions, so they're quite plain of racism. The second one, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race, based on the belief that one's own race is superior. So, from what you said to what it says here, there is another component, and the component is hierarchy. Why does that come into play when we talk about race or racism? Any ideas? Yeah?
Because some people believe their race is higher up on the racial hierarchy than others.
Okay, and why do they believe that? First of all, do only racist people believe that there's a hierarchy between people? What are examples of people that think that there's hierarchy? Guys, we're going to talk about difficult stuff today. We're not just going to talk about flowers. I need you to activate your minds and start talking a little bit. Are hierarchies between people a good thing or a bad thing? So, so if your teachers or your head teacher was equal to you it may be very good, but maybe to the running of the school wouldn't be too good. That's a hierarchy. You understand that hierarchy perfectly well. So should there be a hierarchy between different types of people, between different colors or different beliefs? Okay. Where does the concept... sorry, do races exist? If race exists, put your hand up. What do you think? Okay. If race doesn't exist, put your hand up. Nobody puts their hand up. Why does race exist? Yes. Yes, you.
I said race does exist.
Why? In what terms? What does it mean?
Race is defined as something which does exist, defined as sort of differences between people based on where they come from, their backgrounds. I mean, it's a name for something which exists.
It's a name. Well, I don't know. You hit the nail on the head. It's a name for something which exists. Who came up with the name? Who came up with the name? Biologically, I asked this question last time. Biologically, do races exist?
No.
Do they? Anybody? Yes.
Like races as groups are just kind of the way humans have decided to split people up, and that they're not necessarily biologically kind of split up like that, even though we are different.
They are not biologically split up like that. Can you expand on that?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, louder.
If you want to find a stem cell match, you have to be of a similar ethnic background.
No doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. But would you use stem cells from a monkey to find research for human biology? No, but that's exactly my question. My question is, racism is a social construct. Human beings are all the same species. If you isolate a species for thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, and they become unable to mix with any other species, then they become a species on their own, or a subspecies, for example. But a species that can reproduce is one. And the melanoma in your skin, level of melanoma in your skin, or the size of your nose, or if you can run fast or you can't run fast, or if you can jump or not jump, or if you believe in one God of 25, that does not determine your race. That is a social construct, which means it's an invention made by men, and it was made probably around 150 years ago, probably around the 1870. It's an invention by men to put things into perspective, or, taking a better word, to put things into a hierarchy. And that's a really important concept for you to understand. Should there be a hierarchy between people? Probably there shouldn't be. You guys are part of an incredibly multicultural school. You understand that every human being is the same. So why would somebody come up with the idea that there should be hierarchy between one people and another? Yeah?
I don't think there's anything hierarchical implied about race. Like, it's just a sort of way to differentiate people. It doesn't imply that any one person.
But what is the derivative of the thought that a type of people is different from another type of people? What comes out of it? What comes out of this idea that there's a race, and then there's another race, and there's a white people, and then there's a black people, and then there's the yellow people, and then there is the Jews, and then there is the... Sorry, by the way, colours of the skin, it doesn't mean being racist. It's characteristics. What are the effects of making those classifications?
Well, there's a difference between the effects and the intentions. I mean, the intentions are just there to differentiate between people. And if you're an explorer in the empire and you went to a new country, you want it to be easy to communicate your ideas. That's all it's
100%, which is why 150 years ago, it was completely reasonable to classify people according to the colour of their skin. You're completely right. But this is 150 years later. Now,
It doesn't mean people still don't have colours of skin.
of course not. Of course not. Of course they do. Yes.
It is in medicine a necessary division.
Sorry. Say it again?
In medicine it is a necessary division. Different ethnic groups get different illnesses.
100%. And there are genetic differences between any human being. And yet, we're talking about racism and discrimination. Yes?
Isn't it maybe the difference in adaptation? To say someone, say there was one set, exactly the same person who ended up living with one North Pole, the one in Mississippi, or physics, then you give them 2,000 years to adapt. They're obviously going to come out as slightly different if they're going to make some adaptations.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, last point.
When you're saying the point about, well, you asked why races have hierarchies, and that's because the races that want to feel superior over, well, they differentiate so they can define which is a better race and which is a worse race. And the point of a hierarchy is that someone's going to be at the top and someone's going to be at the bottom.
And is there a problem with that?
There is, because that means that the people at the top can treat the people at the bottom not very well.
Yeah. I thought it was the last point, but he made a very valid point, which I was going to make. So yes.
It's not wrong with the classification of people. It's just the way people see it as a hierarchy.
Okay. Yeah.
Sort of similar, but like, we think that race has become a hierarchy, and like, people are saying that certain races are better than other races. But then, if we then say, oh, race doesn't matter, and we shouldn't think about races, then we're going to forget that some people are disadvantaged because of their race, because like black people are hugely prejudiced against in a lot of areas. And if we then say, oh, we don't see race, race doesn't matter, then we're going to forget that black people are hugely disadvantaged. And so as much as race is like a bad term, and it's a term that shouldn't be in existence, now it is in existence, we can't just take it away because it will make everything worse.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think you're making an incredibly valid point, which is why the work that we did doesn't want to doesn't want to destroy characteristics. We never would advocate for assimilation. We would advocate for integration, or we would advocate for work against discrimination. You're completely right. Let's move on. What's the definition of anti-Semitism? Yeah.
Racism against Jews.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Prejudice against like well, not just Jews.
How come? Alright, so you said prejudice against the Arab world because they're also Semites. Great point. Okay. We're going to take those points on board. Anti-Semitism is prejudice against or hostility towards Jews, often rooted in their ethnic background, culture, and or religion. What do the three words, ethnic background, culture, and religion, why are those three words there, specifically? Yeah.
Because it's important to know the difference between them.
How do you mean?
Because I think like, a lot of the time they're mixed up and they're put under the same bracket and talking about the same thing, whereas in truth it's important to differentiate between the three factors.
But why is that?
Sorry?
Why is that? I'll tell you what it is. It's because a Jew may be abused on the street because they wear kippah and they wear piyot and they're wearing black and a white shirt and they're visibly Jewish. A Jew may be abused because they are a secular American who's made a fortune within the world of finance because they've went to Harvard and then 30 years later they're a multi-billionaire. And a Jew may be one of you, or me, who are Jewish, not necessarily recognizably Jewish. I have an accent, I'm from Italy. You probably wouldn't say, if you met me in the street, that I was Jewish. So actually, the cultural background and religion are very relevant. You're discriminated Jews are discriminated because of all of these factors, and probably a few others as well. So going back to the point that you just made, where does anti-Semitism come from? If you split the word up, and it's anti, who are the Semites? And the question is, who are the Semites? Any ideas? Yeah. Jews and Muslims. Inaccurate, but why? You'll be loud.
I just thought that Semites were Jews and Muslims.
Okay. Okay, so Semites are, yeah?
Well, I thought it was a race of people who, about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, lived in the area that's now kind of modern-day Israel, bits of Jordan, Italy, Lebanon, Syria.
You've got Italy there.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean them.
Syria.
Syria.
Sorry, very quickly about geography. Yes, that's the answer. Many Middle Eastern populations, the name comes from the third son of Noah. Noah builds the ark, and then he has 3 sons. This is biblical stuff, but obviously there are anthropological reasons and traditions that move through. And a language which is Aramaic, which is the root of many other languages, including Hebrew, and including Arabic, and including other languages. So the Yazidis, for example, you may have heard of them, very small population in the north of Syria and Iraq. They've been persecuted by ISIS for the last couple of years. They are a Semitic population. They speak a language which is very close to Aramaic. Arabs, not Muslims. Arabs become Muslims, but Arabic in general, Arabs in general are Semites. So why is anti-Semitism only against Jews? That was the definition. Yeah.
I thought the word like anti-Semitism wasn't actually created by Jews. It was created by people who are like discriminating against Jews and trying to justify it, like in World War II. I thought, but yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, we've just claimed it ourselves.
Okay, absolutely. A little bit like the concept of race and the hierarchy of race, the word anti-Semitism is invented by a guy, his name is Wilhelm Marr. He's a German agitator, and he wants to contextualize the concept of Judenhass, which is Jew hate. He just finds a really nice sounding word for it. German antisemitismus, for the first time, it's Latin. And then, that's why. It's just an invention. 1879. So that's the problem. What is the first instance of anti-Semitism that you can think of? In history, you're talking about Jewish history is probably more than 5,000 years old. What is the first instance of anti-Semitism that you can think of? Anyway, yeah. Pharaoh, why? Louder? And what did he do? Okay, you could say probably that Pharaoh discriminated against Jewish people. It's Jewish people were not a peoplehood in Egypt; they become a peoplehood afterwards, as they come out of Egypt. So, it may be, but not for certain. You had your hand up. Something else, yes.
The Purim story.
The Purim story. Why?
Haman was anti-Semitic in that he wanted to kill off all the Jews.
Okay, I read this article 2 days ago, and it was brilliant article. And what it says is that actually the Book of Esther, Purim, represents the turning point in Jewish history. It is the invention of anti-Semitism. Why is it the invention of anti-Semitism? The reason is that today's Purim, if you don't know the story of Purim, you should learn it. This is a really incredible story of survival and happiness and a whole lot of positive things. But the idea beforehand is that Persians lived in a massive empire with a whole lot of different peoples. In fact, there were 159 different populations and different cultures and religion, and the Jews were part of it. And at some point there's a guy who's not Zoroastrian as the Persians were, who doesn't believe in other things, and at some point he says, and this is directly quoting from Megillat Esther, or the Book of Esther. He says, their laws are different from every other nation, and they do not deserve the king's laws. Sorry, they do not observe the king's laws. So suddenly you have somebody who takes a people and says, the Jewish people, and says they don't respect the laws. And they should be killed for it. So Purim is a really good example of anti-Semitism. There are many, many other examples. What's another one after the story of Purim? What we call religious anti-Semitism. What do you think religious anti-Semitism is? Anything? Anybody? Yeah.
Anti-Semitism towards Jews from a perspective of what their faiths are and how they live their life.
100%. The religious observance. Perfect. Yeah.
I think it was the Greeks who tried to burn down the temple, which is where the story of Hanukkah comes from.
Could have been. Could have been. It was quite different. They were colonizing the whole land. It was quite different. I'm not going to say no, but still true. What happens when Jesus dies and Christianity becomes part of the Roman Empire? Yes? Christians blame Jews for crucifying Jesus. Okay. Why? Okay.
There was a split in belief that lots of Jewish people believed that the Messiah had come in the form of Jesus, and then Jews remained believing that he wasn't the Messiah and they were still waiting, and so there may have been a conflict of belief.
Okay. So the story of what happens to Jesus is a very complicated story. Jesus was a Jew. He becomes he's killed by the Romans on the cross. Jesus had many followers. Many followers start spreading the word of a different type of Judaism after his death. And what happens is that lots of people start learning this and appreciating this way of life. And at some point, this spreads through the Roman Empire. And at some point, 300 years later, first there is a law that says that Christians are allowed to practice. And it's the first time that the Romans, they were pagans, they believed in many different gods. It's the first time that they say a specific religion is allowed. And then 6 years later, Emperor Constantine becomes Christian himself. And from that point onwards, there is a spreading of Christianity, which is not at all a bad thing. And there's only one problem, and the one problem is that there are two prayers within Christian liturgy that apologize the Jews for having murdered their God. And it's quite crucial because it means that me, Christian, accuse you, Jew, of having killed my God, or the Son of God. And so a whole lot of other themes come into play, and there are a whole lot of other religious themes, as you said, that come into play. So, the blood libel. Has any one of you heard of the blood libel? Nobody? What is the blood libel?
The belief that Jews use blood of Christian children for matzah.
The belief that Jews kill a Christian boy and use his blood to make matzah. This is the first depiction, one of the first depictions of it, 1493. It's quite graphic. There's a coloured version of it. It's even more graphic. So the question I have for you is, this symbolism, thousands and thousands of Jews are persecuted because of this accusation. This is not just, oh, the Jews kill kids. Thousands. Okay, this is during the Middle Ages. Most people died anyway. Do you think that something like this can happen today? Not the fact, the accusation that Jewish people do this. Do you think it can happen today? Put your hands up if you think that it can. Okay, in what sense?
I was going to say, I put my hand up to say it can't.
It can't.
It's always, because the fact that they've already been accused of it, it's not going to happen again 200, or what, 400 years later? 600 years later. 600, yeah. Okay, this came out last year, a year and a half ago, on Twitter. This is in the context of Israel and Hamas. So it's a transliteration of something. But the
symbolism is very similar. The symbolism is a menorah, which is a Jewish symbol, and killing children. And the theme of blood happens a lot today. Jews are accused of being blood hungry all the time. As religious antisemitism gets to Darwinism and what we said earlier about the social constructs of race and hierarchy, it becomes something more racial. And so all the features come into play. So the big nose, the Jews have a big nose, the Jews control the world, they control power, and all these themes come into play, and they evolve. And something that we see a lot is something like this. So this is German propaganda, 1943, so towards the end of the war. What is the significance of this? So obviously it's the Jew at the front, at the top, then he eats a Russian, who eats an American, who eats a Brit. What is the symbolism of that? Yeah.
Like the food chain, the Jews are the top of that and can have control over all the other nations.
Okay. Have you heard of this type of symbolism today? Hands up if yes. Where? Yep.
No, I just have it, but I don't read that.
Okay, yep.
But I think I can't remember who. I think Hamas maybe used it as propaganda. They made like very similar posters where they have a Jew, like almost identical, eating another country, where they're again sort of top of the food chain.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't there a post about a Jew eating like an ISIS militant?
Good. I'm glad you remember it. Thank you. So this came out 4 months ago on Twitter, and this is a very similar concept. It's a Jew who eats an American who eats or produces or throws up or whatever it is. What is the significance of that today? Or actually, a better question. What is the just so you know, you are the guy on the right. That's you. And me. What does that mean to you? I'm not joking. This is, when people make stuff like this, that's who they're pointing at. They're pointing at the Jewish people. The fact that it's got chaos and a big nose, what does it mean to you?
Some people, I mean, I don't think it's to the same extent as it was in Germany, like before the war, but some people still hold the belief that Jews are the cause of some terrible things that go on in the world.
Some people have the belief that Jews are at the center of all the bad things that happen in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, many people think that. 2 days ago, Brussels terrorist attacks, and a few hours later, there was a lot of talk on Twitter or social media in general about the fact that actually we brought it on ourselves, and it's the Jewish lobby that creates terrorism in Europe. This concept well, it happens today. Actually, this is a really good example as well. Any one of you familiar with this image, this guy, this, what happened? Okay, yeah, so there's an Anelka. Yeah, loud.
It's Nicholas Anelka, whose goal celebration on destroying a jest, which is considered the French version of the Nazi salute. And he claimed he was just supporting his friend, who was a comedian with a similar gesture. He ended up getting banned for anti-Semitic abuse.
No, he wasn't banned for antisemitism. He was banned by his club, but he wasn't convicted of a racially aggravated offence. Yeah.
He claimed it was anti-establishment.
Sorry?
He claimed it was anti-establishment.
What does that mean? Yes, he did. You're completely right. What does that mean? Anti-establishment.
Anti those in power.
Ah.
Money.
Who's in power?
The government.
As you can see, it's a reverse Nazi salute. And the effect of this is that many other people use the canal, it's called canal, for other things, like at the Kotel or at Auschwitz. And the idea is that it's become a trend to do a reverse Nazi salute. Nowadays we see a lot of Nazi salutes, full stop, in Jewish places, in Jewish institutions. So this is a pretty dreadful picture that we've painted until now. The question that I have for you is anti-Semitism a problem for us today? Has any one of you encountered any anti-Semitism? Is racial banter, which happens in every school, is it anti-Semitic or is it not? Lots of questions for you. I want to think about it for a second and then share your examples if you want to, or share your examples if you don't want to. Has any one of you ever experienced anti-Semitism? No? Yeah?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. It's okay.
Would you like me to?
If you want to.
So I was on holiday on a cruise ship, and I got into a hot tub, like a jacuzzi, and these three, I mean I can only assume they were Palestinian, were like staring at my mug and David, looking at me quite threateningly. And my friend, it was very awkward. They're sort of like staring at me, and my friend was like what's up? To them, and they said, we want you to get out the hot tub. We don't want you in the hot tub. This was in the summer where the Gaza, Israel, yeah. And they were like, we want you to get out the hot tub. You killed all of our people. Your people killed our people. Please get out the hot tub. We don't want to start a fight.
Okay. How did you react?
I mean, I laughed. And my friend got quite annoyed, and they got into a huge debate. And then their friends sort of came over and started shouting at me and the guy, and we were just sitting in the hot tub. And then everything stopped, and it just became a bit of a standoff. Who was going to get out the hot tub first? We won. They got out first. And then I can only assume one of their mothers got very angry and started shouting at my mother, and then that was it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the whole story. Has any one of you ever been called stingy? Hands up. Why are Jews called stingy? Yeah. Guys.
Because Jews are thought to be money grabbers, and all that they collect money, they love money, and they don't give any to anyone else.
Are they?
Well, I don't think so. I think that's wrong.
No, sorry. So I have a question for all those that put their hands up. Are you actually stingy? Okay. The accusation that Jews are stingy is 1,000 years old. 1,000 years old. And it's because Jews were the only people in the Middle Ages that were allowed to deal with large sums of money. They were the only people allowed to charge interest. Christians were forbidden from doing that. Jews took on those jobs. If you come to me and you ask me for £100, I give you £100 and tell you come back tomorrow with £120. By the way, that's what banks do every day to any citizen of the world. But you come back to me and you say, I don't want to give you another £20. Jews are disliked and called money hungry for 1,000 years, including you here today. I don't think you're stingy. Some of you maybe. Is anti-Semitism a problem for us today? These are the numbers of incidents that are recorded in this country. So there are spikes. The spikes correspond with usually activity or military operations in Israel or Palestine or around. So in 2014, it was the highest ever recorded. These numbers are recorded by the CST, which is the Community Security Trust. And the numbers are pretty significant. Are there a lot of incidents or not a lot of incidents? There's about 280,000 Jewish people in this country. Is it a lot or a little? Yeah.
Sorry, is that just the UK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Is it a lot or a little? Put your hand up if you think it's very little. It's not that bad. Okay, put your hands up if you think it's a lot. Why is it a lot? Yeah.
You said there's 200,000 Jews in the UK. That's 1/200th of those. So it's probably like 200 people. Actually, there's not 200 people in this room. But if this room was jam-packed, probably like 200 people in this room, one of us would have had an incident of serious anti-Semitism.
Oh, I didn't say serious.
Oh, this is not serious.
Actually, interestingly enough, this is how you categorize. This is how the CST categorizes anti-Semitism, and the serious incidents are very few. But what is also true is only that about 30% of incidents are reported. If you were to report every time somebody calls you stingy, which, by the way, it may be funny, it may be silly, it may be banter, but it is definitely anti-Semitic, the numbers would be in the thousands. Okay? So, these are the types of anti-Semitic incidents. I want to skip through practical things because actually the point of this session is to get you to understand that it's a very, very old hatred, but it impacts on us today as well. There are a few cases. This is a case that happened a year ago. 2 young boys from Yavne College, Boreham Wood, were not allowed entry in a Sports Direct. They were not allowed entry. They were said no Jews because they were wearing a Yavne College uniform, which has Hebrew on it. The kids spoke with their parents. Their parents spoke with Sports Direct. Sports Direct apologized. They sacked the security guards. There was a big palaver in the papers. This is a swastika, which is a Hindu religious symbol. This is a Nazi swastika. If you see the first one, you're probably not going to see it on a graffiti on a wall. But if you see the second one, or the third one, in Hampstead or Hendon, what we advise you do is you call the police and you immediately report it because it's a symbol of hate. The fact that the second one is on a Jewish home with a mezuzah on the side is, you know, it's relevant, but it's a symbol of hate. The point of this session is to raise awareness about anti-Semitism, but also every other type of hatred as well. And by the way, those numbers, 924 incidents in 2015, they are 924 too many. Anti-Muslim attacks last year were also 790. 790 too many. Hate crimes recorded by the police, 50,000 in this country. 2016. You guys need to activate yourselves to stop this. I'm going to move on quickly because actually I want to talk about this very, very quickly. I will steal 4 more minutes. Sorry. This is something that comes up in every one of our sessions, and it's how a conversation about Israel becomes anti-Semitism. The bottom line there is really, really important. It's a report from government in 2006 that says criticism of Zionism is not in itself anti-Semitic. Has any one of you ever felt threatened as Jewish people because of something that happens in Israel? Hands up. Okay, why is that? In very, very brief, why is that? Yes? Yeah?
Because a lot of people who might be educated and matter associate all Jews with the state of Israel.
You're going to need to say that one more time and louder.
People naturally, or some people who might not be that educated, associate Jews with the state of Israel.
Okay, okay. It's a very, very difficult conversation. What we urge you to do is, if you're passionate about Israel and your Jewish identity, or both, or either one, you need to learn about what you want to talk about if you want to have a conversation about somebody. Criticizing Israel and its policies is perfectly acceptable as long as there are some parameters. As long as it doesn't get overboard. What I'm going to show you is 5 different points which were included in a definition that was used by the EU Commission for Human Rights. And the points according to which criticism of Israel becomes anti-Semitic are these. Denying the Jewish people the rights to have a state, because every other person, every other people have a state. There are Christian states, there are Muslim states, there are Hindu states, there are Italians, there are Brits, There are Scottish, well, actually no, there are no Scots. But, you know, if you're against every nationalism, then it's fine to be against Jewish nationalism as well. Otherwise, it's anti-Semitic. Expecting different behavior of Israel as compared to other countries. Using anti-Semitic symbols and images to characterize Israel. That's what we saw earlier. Comparing Israel to the Nazis. Why is that anti-Semitic? Yes? I will bring it up a notch to that. The Nazis were the first, no, not the first, were a people who created a policy of systematically murdering different people that they felt were inferior. Jews, Slavs, homosexuals. Okay? Disabled people. They were persecuted because of a systematic state policy. If you say that about Israel today, that is not true. And with all of Israel's faults. No question about it. And the last one, which is exactly what you said, holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. We may be indirectly responsible. We may have family in Israel. We may go to Israel on holiday. We may even be Israeli. That does not mean that the actions of the Israeli government should be, that we should be held responsible for the actions of the Israeli government. Okay. And this is the document that it comes from. Sorry, just a few examples. Hitler was right. Hitler, you were right. This is from last year. Is this anti-Semitism? Hands up if you think it is. Hands up if you think it isn't. Whoa, great, fantastic. It's not. It's a free Palestine demonstration. Palestinian nationalism, there's no problem with that whatsoever. This says, stop bombing Gaza, Israel assassin, free Palestine. Is that anti-Semitism? Hands up. Why? Yeah? Israel has murdered people in Gaza in 2014 or last week. Yes, it's very harsh, it's very painful, it's very strong. I don't think that the sign in itself is inherently anti-Semitic. And others have different opinions, by the way. You need to make up your own opinion. The problem is that that is a synagogue in northern Italy. So, what are you doing? You're putting together criticism of Israel with Jewish people in the diaspora. How can we report it? You're going to be given a little card that looks like this. The reason why we do these sessions is because we want you to be conscientious citizens. We want you to be non-discriminatory. We want you to be aware of differences. We want to be able to share your differences with others, anybody else, any other religion, faith, color, and so on and so forth. If you, however, experience anti-Semitism, the point of this session is to hopefully empower you to report it and do something about it. Never put yourselves into danger. If you're in danger, call the police. And the only way for us, or for government, to know that you're experiencing anti-Semitism is if you report it to the CST. So you're going to get a little card like this, and these are just very few bits of the conclusion. And they are, learn how to identify incidents, report them. If you want to have a conversation about your Jewish identity or Israel, do it, but in a safe environment. Learn it and be prepared. Don't just share stuff on Facebook because your Jewish friends shared it. It's stupid. Don't be offensive. And the last point, which is that you are the future leaders of your community, whichever community there may be, and therefore you have a responsibility to represent yourself in the face of citizens. Thank you very much. You've been absolutely great.